done elsewhere from.
Our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains, through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum.
Welcome, brothers, welcome, sisters, welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up the telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socio-economic issues trending. But the most important, you can interrupt us at any time and introduce any subject matter we want. You know, this country have a very good democratic system. It's working. We have a lot of radio stations, an opportunity to express yourself on social media. And on our program, you can introduce your own subject at any time. And we take calls. The number to call is 442-0175. Grenada never have a dull moment. We always have things in Grenada that we could discuss or talk about, particularly in the political arena. We have a new government coming in, and for once, for a long time, everybody seems to agree that Grenada electoral process is a good one. And I do hope we don't move away from that. Because sometimes when people lose election, they just blame everybody. When they win, they're satisfied. Government has selected a new, different ministers, and it seems that they are a good transition team for all of them. And that's important, because generally they are political juveniles, and they need to be guided by more experienced people. For the last two elections, the NNP was in power. So they won all the seats. So there is nobody on the opposition side that have been in government over the last two terms. Bearing in mind that all the individuals who participated in election at this NDC were brand new to politics. And the nine members of parliament, are brand new. So that is virgin ground for them. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
You opening bat.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, my brother. I have a concern in the seed program. I realize there is some loopholes in the seed program, because what I'm saying that people are really need to get the assistance. They are not getting the assistance. Yes, some people they get the assistance from the seed program. They get assistance from the NIS. They get NIS money, and they still have a job. So when time come around, they getting free money, right or wrong. And the people that are supposed to get the assistance, they are not getting it. Yesterday I was talking to a elderly lady, and she was telling me a little while now she's trying to get some assistance from the seed program, and they're only pushing her around. They telling because she tell me she's originally from St. Patrick's. They send her quite up in Sottel. She say the same thing. They tell her, they push her around and blah blah blah. And the granny say,
Color.
Yes, my brother.
If she from St. Patrick's, Sotters don't quite.
Excuse me?
If she is from St. Patrick's, then Sotters don't quite.
No,
she have to come in Sotters to inquire.
Yeah, she
so don't say the sender quite in St.
Well, she's living now. She's based now in Grenville. She's based in St. Andrews now. This is why that's the point I was.
Then she need to go back in St. Patrick's if she recently moved there.
No,
and the next thing, if we're going to say there are loopholes, because some people getting the seed program, they're getting NIS and they're getting work. What people need to do is to pick up the telephone and call the department if they know that for a fact. You understand?
What I'm saying, Mr. Pay, they're supposed to know that because when they get the application, when the field officer asks them for information, they usually say, okay, well, this and that, so they already have the information. Well, I'm not a snitch. I won't be snitching on nobody, Mr. Pierre. I will tell you that.
Then how could we come on radio? How could we go on the media and say there are people who getting NIS, they're working and they're getting seed program, and we have no empirical evidence?
I got my evidence, but I wouldn't reveal it.
Well, then if you would, they say in the Catholic Church, they say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Pay. But what I'm saying, Mr. Pay, when the people usually fill up the application for the program, they know everything, and why they would not be taking steps. I wouldn't be going to call that institution and tell them, well, Peter getting the program and then he still getting NIS and he still have a job. I would not do that. I'm no snitch. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
Then you see, when we say these things on radio, what we're doing, we're saying that the program is corrupt. But we have no proof. And for a long time in Grenada, I mean, the election is over. So people are saying that for political reasons. But then they cannot prove it.
I'm not saying that for no political reason. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, Mr. Pay, the people who should be getting the assistance, they are not getting it because Granny.
How you know that?
Well, I spoke to Granny.
But what the woman needs to do is to go to the office and put a case to them.
Well, she accustomed going to the office, Mr. Pay. This is the point what Granny was telling me. She said she accustomed going to the office. This is what Granny said. You wasn't listening to me, Mr. Pay? She told me, and I'm not just get up and say something. I told you I was having a conversation with an elderly lady yesterday, and she was telling me that I just don't come and say things like that. You understand what I'm saying? So she gave me the information, but she didn't tell me to come on the media with it. But I find that was very, I find it should be concerned because the people know the people are getting the assistance. They know they are getting NIS and they know they are jobbing. So this is why I'm saying the program have plenty loophole. They should be looking into it. This is my point I'm making because Granny said like she need $100 and something every month to buy that medication. And if I had the money, I say, okay, Granny, look the money, go and buy the medication.
I give her $50 now.
Mr. Pierre, well, God didn't bless me. God bless you guys, but God didn't bless me, financially speaking.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
anyway,
thank you.
No, I just had another point again.
Well, you want to be quick with this one, huh?
Yeah, okay, no
be
problem.
Quick with this one.
Yeah. I was listening to the media briefing with the new Prime Minister, and I think it was the Minister of Education. I cannot recall the other minister was there. And the brothers and them, I see the brothers and they are very, genuine brothers. Even the Prime Minister, I've been checking out the Prime Minister. You could see he's a very genuine man, because all what is said that he will going to do when he is on the Camplin Trail, and he's fulfilling his promise. He's not like some other people. They don't other politician. They are not fulfilling a promise. So the brother is fulfilling his promise. Because so I really congratulate the brother. I've been admiring the brother for a little while, and the brother, when the media ask him question, he don't take them in St. George's and take them up in Guam. He get right to the point. But you have some people, the past administration, when they ask them certain question, they have to bring them in Guam, bring them quite down to South Africa before they answer the question, and they tell them not to go there and blah blah blah. But these guys at them, I realize the guys at them, they are more positive people.
Okay,
and I believe that they miss a pay. You have a nice day.
All right, thank you very much.
I will not be listening to your program because I'm stepping out now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you have a nice day, Mr. Pierre. Okay, one love.
sometimes I believe that when people want to take issue with programs or whatever in Grenada, and they have no facts, no information, if you ask them to call the program, they say they can't snitch, they can't reveal, but they on radio program damning the program. If an individual is getting an ass, the person is working, they're getting other main source, and you know they're on the program, then the best way to do is to inform somebody so that they could make the correction. But if you're on the media, you on social media, you on radio, speaking about these things, and then you're saying you're not a snitch, then how are we going to change things? These things sometimes is propaganda. These things sometimes is distorting the truth. And you hear that you hear that a lot of times in Grenada. And all people have to prepare to change. I mean, the election is over. You might have heard things on the political platform, people saying things. But now, let us zero in, let us be specific. And welcome to Carrico in the house. We're always glad when we have people from all different countries and parish listening to us on our program. We welcome you. The number to call is 442-0175. And I was saying we had a new government coming to power, and I was listening to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I thought the Minister of Foreign Affairs have to remember this department is new to you. You perhaps is not, although you have more experience around the politics than the other ministers, and I believe you should know, you ought to know better. There is no justification in picking unnecessary bitterness with high commissioners and trade counselors and ambassadors. A new government coming to power, and obviously they can recall, I think the diplomatic word that is used, that they will recall for consultation. When a government say they're going to consult, it could mean they go fire. They could consult, they could dispense with you. I no longer want you to function with me. You're not in keeping with government policy. But in this state, you tend to be very diplomatic with your relation, with your language. Remember, for the last 2 terms, your government was not in power. The NDC was not in power for the last 2 terms. The government won all the seats. So none of you was not even in the opposition in parliament. So the government may have a total different foreign policy from you. It may be necessary for the present NDC government to get rid of everybody in the foreign policy. And that's your forte. That's your privilege. Nothing is wrong with that. You don't have to insult them. When you said you would recall them, we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah. Probably recall of the consulate and them, but remember, you already said everybody will get prominence, so, but I suppose when I hear you say they are contract and the contract, oh, but it does supposed to have no contract, supposed to up his prominence. But the main issue I call for, the main issue that they have to address, what they promise people, the VAT. The suspension of the VAT, immediately after assuming office, the suspension of the VAT for 1 year, right? And that is maybe because remember other people who doing building and other thing, and they will be spending on that because you promise that even the pension is so important. The main thing is because the VAT affect every Grenadian. The pension affect the retiree, but the VAT affect every Grenadian right immediately. Small child is very grand on the street when you go to the shop, you have to pay that. So you promise that, so I think that that's the first thing to address. And that way no word, that way the journalists ask them no question concern this thing, and I find that strange. Because the next thing again they call for, yes, they say let's unite and let's build the country, because all of us have to leave here and whatever. But before the same thing that people who saying that though, never you want to unite with nobody else. Everything the previous government says, no, you support them But no, you want them to come and unite you and let's deal with Grenada. But that is unfair. Because if you unite, if you really like Grenada, unite you want before and help build. But not know now that you decide you want unity and want a friend that to me that's right. What you like before, you can't like it now. Yeah. So take him up there, everybody.
I think, yes, Scholar, maybe they need 3 months to settle down before they take the decision on VAT. They said immediately. But when politicians speaking, sometimes immediately don't mean tomorrow. Immediately mean maybe a reasonable time. So maybe the Prime Minister, the government need a couple months before they take the decision on VAT. And even on the question of unity, I don't think the government too particular at this present time about unity. They believe that they have some actions that it is necessary for them to take, and the NNP might come in direct opposition to it. So I don't think they're too particular about unity. And why do I say that? Because when you say these things, you must look at what indicators that tell you that. The opposition leader, the past Prime Minister, in congratulating Dick Mitchell, talk about giving him his assistance and cooperation, etc. And I noted that the Deacon said he did not initiate that conversation. And while it was an unnecessary statement, but the fact that he said it was significant. It means he don't too particular about this cooperation they're asking. Sometimes when a government when a political party is in opposition for a long time, when they win election, they still behave as if they're in opposition. Sometimes they want to exact the pound of flesh. They want a little bit of vengeance. And it's in that context I am referring to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It is normal diplomatic language when a new government comes into power to recall the ambassadors, trade missions, high commission, whatever personnel you have in your foreign as a result of your foreign policy. And you bring them back, you recall them, and you could say they are recalled for consultation and etc. Eric Gary might say they would be recalled for necessary consultation. And I'm certain we will be able to work together in the interest of government and government policy. Eric Gary would have a refined way of putting it. This Minister of Finance, I thought he was insulting. I thought the statement he made was very insulting to the foreign ministers, the ambassadors, not foreign ministers, the ambassadors, Trade Commission, and anybody that is involved in the foreign ministry. He said when a new government come in, they should resign. He said common decency dictate that they should resign. And I thought he must be forgiven because he's a political juvenile. And foreign affairs is virgin ground for him. But I'll give him an example. Let us suppose Grenada, and I think they do, have somebody seeking their interest in Russia, which might have been a high commissioner or consular. Normally, a number of these countries are avoiding ambassadors because of the fact that it is expensive. So they use the word consulars and commission. So the person might be a Russian, but they are seeking the interests of Grenada in Russia. And one of these things the consulars do is to take care of your people. So Grenada might have students or people studying in Russia, Kazakhstan, and other neighboring countries. And you might have an individual there that these people can relate to. They have their names and somebody from Russia could call that individual, and you're surprised to know some of the challenges and problems people have in a foreign country. Now this government say common decency should dictate that they should resign. Well, how you've been away from Grenada foreign policy for practically 10 years, 2 terms. You just reach in, you just take office, and immediately you say these people should resign, and you add common decency should dictate that they should resign. You don't even have contacts. It takes you about 6 months perhaps to make contact with all the different individuals and to get information from them. If you recall them in a diplomatic manner, you might even get information from them. But if you decide to insult them, if you're the same language you're using on the campaign trail is the same language you're using there. And I speak about it because I did not hear that the deacon put a transition team to guide foreign affairs. Maybe he had more confidence in the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andal, because he's in the politics long. I think he ran for MBPM. It's about the 3rd time or 4th he's running in that constituency. He in the politics long. He ought to know. But this is insulting language. Now, when these people realize the language you are using, okay, common decency indicate that I should resign, so they resign. But you could get information, pertinent and critical information from these said people that could help you expedite your new foreign policy position. You're not at war with these people. Grenada is a small country. Resource personnel for any small country is critical. Foreign ministers establish relationship with a number of countries in Africa, China, and different countries. And they use consulars. So in Grenada, there is a Grenadian that represents the interests of India, and that person is a Grenadian. At one time, I think South Korea, I can't remember who, and I stand to be corrected, but I think Jerry Seals was also a counselor for some country. So countries will use somebody who living in the country, who is a local in the country, who is a native in the country, to seek their interests. Because it is expensive for poor countries to establish embassies all over the world. Even the United States of America cut down on some of its embassies and relocate. In the Caribbean, Barbados is the main center with the U.S. We go there for visas. I think in Trinidad, Canada. So our foreign minister, you don't need to be so angry again. You won the election. You don't have to insult everybody you think associated with NNP and Kit Mitchell. This language is unacceptable. I don't think even the revolution used this language for people in the foreign mission. Although at that time, foreign affairs was not that critical for small countries like ours. But today it is. Countries are trying to establish bilateral relationship with different countries in the world. Because the new philosophy, the new economic philosophy of a lot of the socialist country is not a black cat or white cat, but a cat that holding rat. That is principally the Chinese attitude. And a number of countries concerned about their own economy. So they have bilateral relationship with countries. And they look for assistance from different foreign countries. But they don't have the means, they don't have the money to set up embassies, so they use consulars and trade consulars and high commission. So the foreign minister have to tone down. You don't need to be bitter. You don't need to be angry. This is insulting language you're using. You're not Iran and Israel. Or you're not United States and Iran. Even the United States ambassador and the ambassador of Russia, they are using softer language for one another. You just come in. You're a political juvenile. You on virgin ground. The right term is to recall for consultation. You don't have to insult these individuals by telling them. Common decency would have indicated that they should resign. And I think these are some of the things that we have to change. When a government remain in opposition long, they're too preoccupied with exacting the pound of flesh. They're too preoccupied with vengeance. They're too preoccupied with going after people that is closely associated with the previous government. And I do hope that the foreign minister, Mr. Andal, and the prime minister, Mr. Dick Mitchell, and all the members of the NDC do not go down the road that they went before. Change this attitude. You may have your investigation, that's all right and all right. But don't go around insulting individuals that you may have to work with tomorrow. You want to start immediately, and you have a number of people in the foreign division. No one knows what is your foreign policy yet, because all of you all are brand new to politics. No one knows what your foreign policy is. Obviously, it is different from the previous government, because you agreed to continue selling passports. That is one of the policy you have. St. Vincent, you and Ralph Gonzalez might have the same relationship as Ralph Gonzalez and Kit Mitchell, because Ralph Gonzalez is not selling passports. He prefer will. Kit Mitchell sell passport. Dick Mitchell is interested in selling passport. Mr. Tillman Thomas never interested in selling passport. So obviously your foreign policy will be different. As you say, we do not have career diplomats. Small country like us in the Caribbean is too expensive. So no one knows what your foreign policy is. You sometimes don't know what your foreign policy is. It might take you a whole year to start to have a clear, defined foreign policy. So you don't have to insult, belittle, use despicable language to individuals who have been representing Grenada in foreign affairs. This is unacceptable. And I always say, Mr. Andal perhaps is the most experienced in the team vis-a-vis the politics. So I thought it necessary to express my opinion on that, because I'm disappointed in you. Start off. You don't need to be angry. You're too angry as an individual. You're not Kit Mitchell, you're not Gregory Bowen, and you're not Nazim Bok. That is the three individuals in Grenada that have been criticized the most. And I understand when they hit back. I understand when they get angry. But you not that. So you need to use more diplomatic language, softer language, and more diplomatic. You know, I thought it's very important for me to say that, because too many times we are making too much an obvious mistake. And that is going to happen with the National Democratic Congress if they don't humble. If you're on a vengeance trail, you're going to make a lot of blunders. I noticed that they put a de facto minister for you, a transition team, advisors. But they did not use the word advisors. They use a transition team. It is even more profound. It means that they have people there to guide you, that you don't make obvious mistakes. So they put people to guide you. I applaud Richard Duncan. Richard Duncan is of a man of no mean quality. He's one of the outstanding individuals that come in from finance. So he being leader of the transition team for Dick Mitchell in finance is very good. He has retired maybe about nearly 15 to 20 years ago. Left the department. But it's important to have a man of substance of his quality. There. I'm pleased. I'm happy with him. Because the Ministry of Finance is one of the high-performing ministry in this country. The people there are you could see there is a high motivation. I guess they have Timothy, our brother in the OECS Bank, Central Bank, Richard Duncan, who was also a past minister of, a past permanent secretary in finance. And he is there with them. Although most of the individuals there might have been hearing about Richard Duncan. Because he has left the service, I wouldn't be surprised, nearly 15, 20 years ago. And this is some of the language has been using about old people. You have to have old people. You must have elders. This was something that was tossed about relentlessly. That the NNP had old people or people who retired. Well, now the transition team of the NDC is also people who have retired. You can't do it at old people. Don't insult them. Don't use despicable language against them. And even if you did prior to the result of the election, you must discontinue the practice now. And if you discontinue it, you want to help your social media warriors to do the same. You know? So brothers and sisters, you can give me a call. The number to call is 442-0175. You see, the brother on the Facebook, I find you, Mr. Pierre, too critical of criticism. You should instead advise or teach good changes. Yes, he says he's fine and too critical. Well, one of the ways you have to point out, when you're dealing with politics, and when you're dealing with politicians, I like to give justification why I take a position. So I promise to express my views and opinion, particularly where Grenada politics is concerned. But I always give reasons why I say what I say. And if I get new information, I'll change my opinion. Because opinion is not fact. So if the foreign minister who enter in a virgin area, he starts up by what I think is insulting individuals, saying it is common decency that when a new government comes, these people should resign. The diplomatic language is to recall for consultation. I'm trying to encourage him to soften his language when he's dealing with foreign affairs. And I give a practical example about students studying in Russia. So my brother understand, but I always try to provide reasons. Somebody say man of intellect, so Kit So K to us, Grenadian, teach us what is right. This one is a little challenge. Try to read a couple on Facebook. But somebody saying, Cynthia, I'm not surprised about the insultive language, that they numb, so sad, and they preach in unity. Yes, I think the National Democratic Congress, you have to be careful with the language. Know that you win election. You need Grenadians to work together. We are a small country, and we always in dire need of personnel. If you're going to, and I give an example, if you go to Ticolo and you want to start a group there, a developmental group, and you say you don't want some people in it, sometimes the group mash up long time before you start. Because everybody in Ticolo is related, one way or the other. Who is not related by blood and by in-laws, they are related by association. So this is why we need Grenadians to work together. And I said, even if the call did not come from the opposition, it must come from the government. And your foreign minister, you have to guide him. Maybe you need a transition team. He can't start up. It'll take too long to get to know what's going on. He had already said it was mucky. Well, the government had a different foreign policy. And you going now in the world, you're producing a different foreign policy from the government that exists. So you have to know what your foreign policy is. Yes, the number to call is 442-0175. And we could always change the topic if you want to. Sometimes you go on social media and you see the warriors of the political party. You have a call on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yes, Mr. Francis. Good evening, sir. Afternoon,
Yes.
sir. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I returned the punch, man, with the pumpkin, man. It was very good. It was excellent, man. Before I could have put on the phone from the side, two customers come and they pick up all the pumpkin, man. So I have to call and say thanks to you very much.
Yes, my brother. Thank you. The call.
Yes, everything.
Well, you see how important this radio station is.
Very.
The Real FM, I say, is one of the best radio stations in Grenada. They're very proactive where agriculture is concerned. And they have been doing that for about 10 years. And I think farmers in particular should practically pay heed to that. On a Friday, I know they have a Thursdays. They have their program on Thursdays. And farmers are involved in it. BJ is a boss farmer. So yes, they are not pretending anything. They have been at it for at least 10 years. You know?
Yes.
So and on this program, we are extremely practical. You know?
Yes,
we encourage you to listen. And your children, we encourage people to let the children listen to our station. To listen to our program.
Thank you. I always listen to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, caller. Very much. Yeah. We could make a difference in this country. Sometimes you have farmers, they may have products to sell, but nobody knows. You know, in yesteryear, we say Sakitan Palelot. We send around somebody. You had individuals in the community that was known for doing that. They pass on and pass the message around. In today's society, we have radio station and social media and etc. But sometimes because of the quantity of the product that you have, it's difficult for you to get on to a radio station and pay for advertisement etc. But on a Thursday, in particular, on Real FM program, and Real FM is one of the best radio stations in Grenada. You have one or two others, but that station have a number of programs. They're not afraid to tell you their position, but they accommodate callers. And they are not insulting to other people. Whether the opposition or whether the government, you can't call Real FM and disrespect other political feeders. other political figures. And this is one of the reasons I respect this station quite a lot. They don't tolerate people just using the station to disrespect one another. We are a small group of people. If you meet 10 Grenadians that you never met before, when you start to talk, you realize most of them, you know, perhaps quite a lot of them. You have Grenadians from the country that go to St. George's, they come back easy. You have people from St. George's come in the country, they go back. And when you start in a conversation, you might shock to know how close the relationship is, or in-laws. Sometimes you and them in the same church. So we need to respect one another. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller.
I'm a first-time caller,
Thank you very much.
but I heard you use some concerning an individual. And yes, I know that guy. He's very arrogant. Because the people that is in foreign studying or working, how to go resign just so after 10 years you're in a position as you come, you want everything to happen, whoosh, wash, no decency? That hurts me because I have family in foreign studying. And I wouldn't like them to just resign. For what reason? What is his way of foreign affairs? What is his mission? How he own setup? He have a setup that this one go against it. The people was there for 10 years, they was in a position. And he had that arrogancy in him. So please, see how you could get the Prime Minister to get somebody to work with him to calm him down, because he's going to make the party in shambles sometime if he continue this way. Thank you, sir.
Yes, caller, thank you. Yes, I thought he was the most experienced individual on the team, and the position in his language. His language had to be more diplomatic. You recall your ambassadors for consultation. And when you use that word, consultation could mean we go fire you. Consultation could mean you're doing a very good job, we compliment you, but because of our policy inclination, we may not use you now. Consultation could mean we're going to use you. Yes, we want you to continue. And you could change all of them. But you don't have to insult them. It's only common decency. They should resign now. Now this is unacceptable. And this is not diplomatic language. So maybe they need a transition team to guide him. Nothing wrong. To guide him. You know, the interesting thing is not to say these guys are not educated. These guys are bright like smoke. These guys are bright. Remember, Eric Geary never went to a secondary school. Never went to a secondary school. Ben Jones became a lawyer by private studies. Never been to a secondary school. Now these guys had so much finesse. And the language was more palatable. Presently now, the members of the government, you have to use more palatable language. You're not going outside there and search for blood. You're not looking for a pound of flesh. And you have to encourage you social media warriors and the personalities on the radio that have been pushing hate for years to tone down. Because what is going to happen is going to contribute to NNP bringing in warriors on social media. And then you find a battle that could thwart your efforts at cooperation. That could thwart your efforts at unity. So some of them still aren't. When you speak, they say too fast, man. Stay out of this business, man. That we time now. Don't go talk about it, Dickon. But you see, it's very important for Dick Mitchell and all the members of the NDC to understand. Kit Mitchell has been one of the most criticize human being in Grenada. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Hey, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
Good afternoon. Mr. Pierre, there's something you see. You could do something, but not you have to do the way to do it. There's a right way of handling any situation. Right? As I say, you could call somebody that may outside representing the country to come in and then to speak to them. Whether that could be the last day as someone that represents Grenada outside, whether you could renew the contract. Alright? I do believe doing things the right way. When you people are concerned doing things one way, their way, they always feel that their way is the right way. And I think you speaking to big people. Alright? And so you get big people, speak to big people, and you get things done better, and they understand the situation. You know, like sometimes you're expecting like when my foreign secretaries might be working with the previous government, and they work good. Right? Even you might come in that no longer want them to walk along with you. Right? You do if you call them in, bring them in and speak to them the proper way, and they will understand. You understand? But sometimes the way and the manner is when you do something, right? Like you put it more fire upon fire, and I would say to quench the fire, you have to do things the right way, do things with love. Do things with understand that people understand the situation, but so that when you do things in that manner, and you show disrespect to people who are representing the country outside there for 10 years or 5 years, people looking at you. And as I always tell people, when you're in a position, don't abuse your position, because some days you'll be up, some days you'll be down, and those people are tendency to like, what is so the way, right? I don't believe. When you do something that is not right, you should acknowledge what you did is not right and try to learn from mistake and do it the right way. When you do things the right way, people understand you. And I always say again, people don't understand that we are all humans and we need to be treated with respect and dignity. So, Mr. P, have a blessed day.
Yes, caller, thank you very much for calling. We have a caller. Yes, caller, thank you. You see, we could change things, We could make things better, but we have to understand that we're dealing with a small country. We have a small country, 110,000 people, a community where everybody know one another. And our politics, we have to be careful with the politics, You see, it happened in the revolution. And I always refer to the revolution because that is the template. The revolution went about arresting people and locking them up right, left, and center. And some of the PRAs were not able to go home. It's not that anybody didn't tell them don't come home, But their parents was arrested. I knew a case where a son arrested his father. He went to have a meeting to revive goat society. Number of agriculture individuals went to have a meeting to revive goat society. The revolution members thought they was planning to overthrow the country. So his own son arrested. The father was shell-shocked. He was just uttering a few words. About after 3, 4, 5 days, they came out they released them, because at that time, he was working with government as an agriculture officer with some level of seniority. And his son couldn't take it. He leave the country and go. Because he went around, he arrested his father. So, you have family members that are NNP and family members that are NDC. So sometimes it's important when a government win election to tone down. Otherwise they're doing their own self-injustice. I see my brother on Facebook asking me, why am I not talking about cocoa and nutmeg? Well, obviously this gentleman don't listen to me. Maybe it's the first time you listen to me. Why not asking about cocoa and nutmeg? The Cocoa Association and the Nutmeg Association, you know. But I think it's very important from day one to understand that the level of criticism that has meted out to Kit Claudius Mitchell and his level of tolerance and survivability to criticism is the standard by which ministers would have to take guidance. Is a strange template for criticism. You know. The amount of criticism that has been met out to Kit Mitchell, any minister that come, don't believe people will criticize you. This country sat, they witness, they enjoy, they listen to the criticism meted out to Kit. And it could happen to Dick Mitchell. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller, welcome. It seems as though we lost this caller. Caller, we lost this caller. You there still? Caller, you there? Well, we're having a little technicality with our caller, so the best thing is to try again. So when you become a prime minister, don't expect it's a bed of roses. Because people are going to know the level of criticism. Yes, caller, welcome.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
And a special good afternoon to your audience. Let me punch. Francis, I personally believe that this government, present at NDC administration, have the opportunity to really make a difference. I really hope they will harness the opportunity to do so, because they don't have to worry too much about roads. They don't have to worry too much about electricity, water, and housing to an extent, despite the fact housing is a very, is one of the most important pressing issues. This is well established. So the foundation is well established. So I do hope, I wish them well, and I do hope that they will build this country in the interest of all. But let me say this, sir. Some of these social media warriors is not representative of Mr. Dickon Mitchell, based on my observation, despite the fact that they are advocating on behalf of the NDC. I am saying this to say that the present PM don't have the same axe to grind that so many of the long-time serving NDC supporters have to grind. He don't have that. So I do hope that he will take all of these things into consideration when certain things have been presented to him, and he work and do things that is in the best interest of Grenada in terms of the development process going forward. Francis, I really thank you for the time.
Yes, scholar, and I think it's very important for him to understand from day one that there are some voices in this country that will speak. Some of them spoke even in the revolution. So there are voices that will speak. And we have the telecommunication network in Grenada have been liberalized. And I think we have to give Kit Mitchell credit for that, because he believed in the liberalization of the telecommunication network. So we have about 30 radio stations, give or take. They have license, some on, some off. And you see what happened to social media. And he must remember the level of criticism, the level of sustained, bitter, and hateful attacks that went Kit Mitchell way. So don't believe he can come your way. Because a precedent has been set, a new template for the level of criticism that goes to leadership. And Kit Mitchell was able to, and I thought with great humility, accept all those criticism. I don't know what level, what depth, what capacity Dick Mitchell have for criticism. His first set of criticism didn't handle well. He used the mic and he turned it to the crowd. and indulge them in using objectionable language. So I don't know his capacity for criticism, but he have to be cognizant of the fact that the template is extremely high. And yes, we have a beautiful country with electricity, telephone, water, and internet is second to none. We have a very good road infrastructure, and the economy of this country was the envy of other members of the OECS prior to COVID-19. A lot of time I speak, I try not to quote Kit Mitchell. He might be on one end of the pendulum, and I may not necessarily quote Deacon. He might be on another end of the pendulum, but I'll quote Richard Duncan. I respect these individuals greatly. I feel more of them must speak on issues. I take serious issue with economists and managers who lose their tongue. They don't express their opinions on issues. So Richard Duncan, an outstanding public officer, a bank manager, a man who would have gone any part of the world and get a job. He stayed in Grenada and he functioned. And I've seen him all about the place in activities. So he's a good soldier. So his presence in finance, his presence in the Ministry of Finance gladdens my heart. So there are some issues I wouldn't quote Dr. Kit Mitchell on. And I wouldn't quote the new Dick Mitchell on, but I will quote Richard Duncan on, because it's a good way to get balance. I notice in his estimation of what the true cost of the pension would be in Grenada, Dr. Kit Mitchell was on one end of the pendulum, and Dick Mitchell was on another end. So I encourage you to listen what Richard Duncan says. He may well be the de facto Minister of Finance, because I notice more often than not they ask for advisor, but this time they thought it necessary to have a transition team, and I thought that was good. That makes quite a lot of sense. And this is why I speak, because I believe maybe they might have to an advisor for Mr. Andal. Maybe not necessarily a transition team. Or give him a class in diplomacy. Ruth Rouse and others have been in the diplomatic section or core, how you call it, for a very long while. And they could help him to have more palatable language and remind him that he's not on the campaign ground. And you are speaking to little children. And what? You would be disadvantaged, because these people in the foreign mission can provide critical information to you before you fire them. And that makes a lot of sense. In your counsel with them, you could find out who is where and what is when. And then you could have a session with them while you make up your mind if they are in keeping with your strange diplomatic or foreign policies. And we're back with you again next week. On Monday, we apologize again for yesterday. We had the cricket, and West Indies get a thrashing. And you expect much more thrashing from West Indies. A lot more. I don't think we are doing justice to cricket. I don't think we have what it takes. And I believe we may well continue to lose. And if you was around me in the rum shop, I would have said that since they got rid of Pat Rousseau, discipline, pride, and patriotism is practically wanting among our West Indian players. And it must bring tears to our eyes. But that is a reality. And you could join us again on Monday between 12 and 1, and you have another opportunity to punch.
The